Welcome to the next video of this series of showing you how to maintain the Hawkeye website. In this video, I'll just be doing a brief overview of all the files of how you actually manage this site. So I am SSH'd currently into a local server that's running a WordPress instance. You'll have instructions elsewhere for how to set up that instance. But that means along this left bar, I can see all of the WordPress files. So if you notice, I'm just in the large folder inside WP-content, inside themes, you can see Hawkeye. This is our theme. This is where everything that you edit goes. WordPress is built very well that you can actually customize virtually the entire site, or actually effectively the entire site, just through stuff in here. So a few basic things to look at. There's this style.css function or file, which doesn't have anything really of importance. It's just necessary to get this thing up and running. There's also the README, where you'll have instructions for more information, including like how to run the virtual site. And then you'll find assets, which is any like JavaScript, whatnot files, image files, fonts that you might need. And then you can look into all of these template files. The first one to look for is the actual logic file, which is functions.php. This is how you actually control stuff in the WordPress. So if I go to the top, I'm including a couple files because this is so long. There's actually overlap into a few more files. I'll get into those later. But in here, you write functions and you add actions into hooks. So you say something like, when WordPress is finished setting up the theme, you want it to run this function, which conveniently we can see right up here. And all I'm doing here is adding support for a theme to have post thumbnails and a custom logo. Simple enough there. And then, for example, when you're on the Hawkeye site, if you see in the very top, there's a menu, or in the footer, there's menus to get to other pages. Well, right after initialization, run this function, Hawkeye setup menus, which sets up these different menu locations, and then calls a WordPress function to register these. Going further down, there's a couple examples, some unused code currently to restrict signups to only head voice. Then let's see, on each of the pages that you have in WordPress, you might have some CSS and some JavaScript files. Instead of putting those on each page, you actually put those in here. So in the hook after WordPress and Q scripts, you want it to call this function, which we make right here. And in here, you can call for all of your style sheets to be added in. You can just fairly easily copy this style. But if you notice, it's looking in the assets folder over here for these script files. The same goes for JavaScript here. Then there's more stuff for like setting up the comments section, or making block templates, setting up the hamburger menu, or counting the views that are on each post. These are all logic that is set up here. And a lot of this, even if you don't understand it now, will be understood like as you go, because WordPress has a lot of support online. And if you follow tutorials, a lot of them will be giving you functions for manipulating stuff that go in this file. This is where you put your custom code. You don't want to touch anything outside of the Hawkeye file in WordPress because you might break stuff, you'll cause security issues, and if you update WordPress, as WordPress will just be updated constantly as things are patched, upgraded, whatnot, those codes will be overwritten. The theme files are the things that are static, you control. So there's more in the functions files, but I'll go over those in a later video in more detail, I'm sure. So let's go into the rest of these. These are all of your template files. For example, on the home page of the site, this front page template is what renders it. You'll notice it is very long because there's a lot going on in that front page. But this is actually all the code that sets up that front page. So let's go to a slightly simpler one maybe to help see how this all works. So if I go to single.php, which is used to render some single articles. If we go to the top, you'll notice there's a lot of stuff like at the top, get header. This calls functions which interface with the code in the functions.php to load in all your HTML headers load in all your CSS and JavaScript, or the JavaScript is actually probably loaded at the bottom in Git footer. But it'll also call this Hawkeye set post. If you don't know PHP, then in HTML you can put these opening and closing tags, and you can put PHP code in. Then you have these div classes to actually format, where you can do whatever you want. But to get dynamic content, because obviously these are template files, these are not static files, you do loops, like things like this, to actually query for content. Since this is a single post page, WordPress knows to just feed it a single post. So you can make this PHP call, where if this page has posts, that's a function that'll be fed in, then you can run this code with the post. And then you can call these WordPress functions like PHP get the title, and that'll return the title, get the category, which will return the category. And by this method, you can have everything loaded in. So notice there are a lot of pages in the site, so each of these templates do their own thing. So let's see, if you go to author page, this will display all of the stuff for an author. It'll list through everything they have. So for author, you'll see the list right here while I'll have post to post. This will query through all of the posts of that author and do whatever you put here to render them, getting whatever you'd like. So WordPress makes things very simple like this to use their functions to make things easier. I'd recommend, to get more versed in this, looking up some WordPress tutorials. There are plenty out there. But just to get you versed in a little bit of the stuff as we have it here, hopefully this helps. See you in the next video.